Interesting.
He is a journalist and managing editor of Human Events. He's the editor at Post Millennial. It's a website. He's a journalist at Rebel News. He writes for Penthouse. He's a t-shirt designer. He's a Twitter provocateur. It's Ian Miles Cheong.
He simply has been thrown into this pit.
Ian Miles Cheong tried to get me killed.
The next day, I'm locked out of my Twitter account.
You've opened the door to something you probably didn't want to open. Good luck, Ian. Good luck.
Hello everyone, how's it going? You alright? Today we'll be looking at the man behind one of the most infamous accounts on Twitter and his surprisingly wild backstory, from Gamergate to internet blood sports, swatting to Elon Musk reply guy. Ian is a chameleon, blending into the background but being influential in some of the internet's biggest movements. So let's start at the beginning. Ian first popped up on the internet in 2002 on a website used for talking about RPG games. He was a moderator on this site, but even in his early part of his career, he would set the stage for the years to come. Users of this website started to complain about Ian wielding his power as a weapon and just generally got sick of him, so they set up a Wikipedia page about his antics. This went on for a few years until it was found out that Ian had been writing racial slurs about black and Jewish people on the public chat rooms, plus calling himself a banana who is yellow on the outside but white on the inside. Ian was fired for this and would seemingly do a complete U-turn on his worldview. This will be an ongoing theme. Mr. Cheong was now a self-described turbo-feminist gaming journalist writing machine. This change of heart and career would work out well for Ian, and soon he was flown out to San Francisco by EA Games to spend time with the game developers of Hellgate London, where he was wined and dined. He talks about the food and alcohol that he was given a lot. He was then allowed to play the game before its release. Ian wasn't a fan of the game but didn't want to upset his new friends who had given him delicious turkey sandwiches and unlimited servings of Spanish dishes, so he would keep his thoughts to himself, and when he was asked by the community manager, Ian would say that it was one of my most awesome experiences. The game went on to get negative feedback from fans, but Ian would wait 3 years before he wrote a bad word about the game. In 2008 he became the editor at a gaming website called GameRanks, but more importantly he would also become a predominant moderator at subreddits like r/politics and r/ask Reddit, which were two of the biggest subreddits on the website. In much the same vein as his earlier time as a moderator, his Reddit career was marred by him abusing his power by posting links to sites that he had a financial interest in, then using his power as a moderator to spread the post and keep it from being removed. Ian was banned from Reddit for this, which would receive some press coverage. In one interview, Ian is quoted to say, "I'm far from the only high-profile user on the site who submits his own content. I simply wasn't as careful about making friends and enemies as I should have been." The next thing of note is when one of his writers at GameRanks wrote an article about famous YouTuber KSI motorboating a woman at a gaming convention. This article was titled, "Assaulting women, verbally or otherwise, at gaming conventions is not okay." I'll just point out a few things about this disingenuous headline. Firstly, you can't assault anyone verbally. The definition of assault means a physical attack. Secondly, assault is a crime in Britain where the incident took place, so it would have been a very foolish move to record yourself committing a crime then posting it to millions of viewers. These pretty basic facts didn't stop the writers from demonising KSI, who had asked the woman in question if it was okay to do this, with her seemingly being pretty happy with it. This article would get pushback, so Ian took to Twitter to defend the article, claiming that the harassment that he was getting was illegal in the UK. The woman who was motorboated is named Brandy Brewer. I'm assuming that's not her birth name. Brandy would join the discussion to say that she was not harassed, so Ian backtracked, claiming that he was not talking about her. Brandy then pointed out that there were no other women that were touched in the video. Ian would counter this by saying that he was talking about a microphone touching some of the other girls, so Brandy ended the fight by telling him to get away from his computer, meet a real girl, and that he should go and burn his bra. Ian seemed pretty set in his feminist game journalist life, but a storm was approaching, the likes of which the internet had never seen. By 2014, the gaming industry had been engulfed in the flames of Gamergate, and as Ian was a turbo-feminist, he was firmly on the side of his fellow feminists, writing many articles about how Gamergate was a harassment campaign against Zoe Quinn and Anita Sarkeesian. Ian would write many well-thought-out tweets laying out the case against Gamergate, such as, "Hey Gamergate, go yourself." The mixture of his profound and insightful tweets and the fact that he was a gaming journalist put a target over Ian's head, and soon his enemies started to dig up the racist things that he had written in the past in an effort to drive a wedge between him and his left-wing friends, which would force Mr. Cheong to tweet a public apology claiming that he only wrote these things because he was under the influence of the very toxic gaming community that was trying to smear him today, and that he will work and advocate against racism in gaming. This would split opinions on the left, with some saying that his words were unforgivable and others saying that he should be given a second chance as they are better than this. It turns out that most of the people asking for Ian to be given a second chance were Ian's secret alternative accounts. Ian then went on the attack, making unfounded accusations of against the gamers, and tried to get a popular game banned from Steam as Ian thought it was aligned with the Gamergate movement. I'm not too sure what the turning point was, but over time Ian started to change sides, tweeting about how gaming journalism is a dying scene due to them whining about politics. Mr. Cheong was now flirting with the right wing, rubbing their leg under the table to see what response he got. Some would welcome his advances, while others would accuse him of being a rat leaving a sinking ship, jumping onto whatever bandwagon would give him power. Ian himself claims that he started to talk with right-wing people and thought that they seemed nice, while people on the left were calling him out for talking to these right-wing people, which drove him into the arms of the right. Ian wrote an apology to gamers stating that he had lost his way and had no right to dehumanize gamers. This seems to have done the trick, and soon he was writing about feminists being everything wrong with gaming. It was then revealed that while Ian was on the side of the feminists, he was part of a group called Crash Override. This group was designed to target gamers' jobs and impact them financially in any way they could in order to silence them. This seems to have been largely ignored by his new gamer friends, so Ian pumped out more and more right-wing content, and in 2016 he was a fairly notable figure in the anti-SJW movement, writing about far-left protests at universities and the violence of Antifa, which would in turn lead to him appearing on the Tucker Carlson show.
100% real. You know, we've seen this with at the demonstrations against Milo Yiannopoulos at UC Berkeley.
In 2017, he wrote an article for the Sun newspaper's website about Gamergate, started to work for a media outlet called The Daily Caller as a writer, and also became a writer for Milo Yiannopoulos' website called Dangerous. Mr. Cheong wrote on a section of this website called Incel Corner, which got him much mockery online. So to prove to the world that he was not an incel, he tweeted claiming that he had a girlfriend and expressed his anger at Milo for naming the geek section of this website Incel's Corner. Well, it turns out that Ian's girlfriend was an e-girl that he was in a long distance and open relationship with, which when translated means that there was no relationship and he just sends her money. The next thing of note is when famous YouTuber PewDiePie got in trouble for following right-wing people on Twitter, including Ian, and saying a word that begins with N. Ian would jump to PewDiePie's defense with the tweet, "Hey, can people stop freaking out over PewDiePie saying the N-word in a heated gamer moment?" This tweet would become a bit of a meme and give birth to the internet term the gamer word. Years earlier, Ian had done many tweets about a plague of ants that he was battling with such unforgettable moments as, "You have never seen horror until you see ants streaming out of your keyboard," and "My bacon sprinkles were filled with ants once, and I had no idea until I milled a bunch of it into the soup I was making." His now enemies on the left would dig up these tweets and start to mock him for this, with Ian calling them racist against Asians. In 2018, Ian would claim that the anti-Trump resistance were responsible for a shooting in Jacksonville, Florida, and name a Reddit account called Ravens Champs as the shooter. "I thought you were meant to be banned from Reddit, Ian Miles Cheong, you cheeky little bugger." This Reddit account would then post to confirm that they are still alive, not in prison, and had nothing to do with the shooting. So Ian posted to say that he found it strange that this account was now mysteriously active again after 2 weeks of being inactive. Ian would later apologise for his mistake, but sadly was fired from the Daily Caller for this. In late 2017, a new YouTube fad would take root called Internet Blood Sports, where people live streamed verbose debates on intellectual topics. This mostly descended into people arguing over YouTube drama mostly and fizzled out by mid-2018. Like a case of internet herpes, our buddy Ian popped up in this relatively obscure YouTube genre, debating live streamer Destiny.
You know, Ian? Is it Ian or Ian?
Ian, it's Ian, yeah.
Ian, yeah, I mean, he did kind of pull you the fuck out there in the article.
I know.
Like you have to admit that. I mean, that was
I do admit that. Yeah.
I'm sure that Ian was great at masturbating large groups of people, but sadly he wasn't too great at solo debating. But it's not the end destination that matters, it's the friends that you make along the way. And Ian made friends with a firm fixture of the blood sport scene called Andy Warski, with the pair starting a YouTube channel called Hype Break. This channel talked about game news and grew fairly well until 2018, when Ian claims that a small right-wing YouTuber called Wild Goose sent him a message to inform Ian that he had hired Bitcoin assassins to come after Mr. Cheong. Ian took this message seriously, so found out Wild Goose's personal information and handed it over to a left-wing YouTuber that Ian believes ran a doxing crew, with the instructions to go after Wild Goose's family. The left-wing YouTuber was no fan of Ian's and made a video to share Ian's plans with the internet.
Ian said he gathered this information with the help of private investigators and then said, quote, "The only way to get to him is through his family." Now, remember the shady stuff he accused me of that I alluded to? Well, one of those things included being part of a doxing crew. I don't know what he expected me to do with this information, but there's clearly a reason he approached me with this as opposed to someone he was on good terms with.
After Ian's master plan was unveiled to the world, he would change tactics and start to play this off as some kind of 4D chess move, getting David Sharat and his leftist followers to stand for Neo. This is the greatest trick the devil ever pulled. What have I done? One of the main meeting places for the dramas of the internet blood sports was the Kill Stream, hosted by infamous internet personality Ethan Ralph. Ian and Wild Goose appeared on the Kill Stream to hash out the drama, with Ian claiming that he tried to dox Wild Goose because he was part of the group that targeted journalists in Gamergate, and because of the Bitcoin assassin thing. Wild Goose claims that this threat was not from him, and Ian said that he must have been tricked by a fake account. Wild Goose would then go on to claim that because of Ian's actions, he was forced to resign from his job and that the police raided his father's house using a flashbang grenade which injured his father's dog. Ian thought this was funny.
At first when you told me that I had sent you a weird message, I was like, yeah, probably, or whatever. But I didn't remember. But now you're saying like something that I definitely wouldn't have ever said.
So someone was someone f***ing with me and just using your username or something?
Probably. That's been done before.
I was misled, clearly misled, and the idea was that you were this guy, right? And that the only threat to you was not to go like expose your dad. So the idea here was that we tell your dad about what you're doing. We tell your dad about what you're doing because he's a certain somebody, right?
You know, like how old I am?
No, dude, I have no idea.
I'm about 30.
Okay.
So like, I don't live with my parents. Not only did I have to resign from my job, but several sheriff's deputies showed up to my father's house and threw a flashbang in the pool with my dad's dog in it. So you blew up a yellow Labrador Retriever because of mistaken identity. So, and I know that's food in your country and all.
Totally didn't deserve to get flashbanged and all that. Totally apologize for that.
I'm a little confused about the claim Wild Goose made about his father's dog, as I've seen some say that he was injured, others say that it was killed, and others say that it was not true and Wild Goose was just trolling Ian. It's a little tricky to know for sure, as most of the accounts involved have now been removed from YouTube, so if any of you guys know what happened, let me know. Whatever the case may be, people on this side of the internet were now starting to turn against Ian, and many videos were made about his antics on YouTube, which were then removed from YouTube due to them getting reported. This event caught the eye of drama tuber Keemstar, who invited the pair onto his show Drama Alert to talk about what was going on, but sadly Ian would decline this offer, claiming that the swatting was fake and just a meme. People then started to point out that Ian had apologised to Wild Goose for what happened to his dad's dog, and that there was video footage of this happening. I've seen this footage and it's a little hard to know what's going on, as I have no idea who Wild Goose believes his dad is or what his home looks like. Ian then leaked private messages with Keemstar in which Keemstar said that he was on the warpath, but Keemstar claims that he knew Ian would leak this, which is why he made them so juicy, and even made a bet on how long it would take Ian to leak them. It took 5 minutes. This situation would put a strain on the friendship that he had with Andy Worski, and this wasn't helped when Andy found out that Ian had been sharing his business details with people that Andy didn't like. The pair drew up a contract to hand over ownership of Hypebreak to Ian, but then for some reason that I'm not too sure of, Ian decided to lock Andy out of the account. Then a short time later, the thumbnails of Andy's main channel started to change to indecent images of men, with Andy claiming that Ian was still a manager on his main channel, and that the changes were coming from Malaysia, which is where Ian was born and still lives to this day. Andy says that Ian did this to try and get his channel banned from YouTube, and that Ian changed the payment settings on the account so that all the money would now go into Ian's bank account. Andy hit back at Ian by making an expose video aimed at GameRanks, claiming that Ian was still a manager at the site and was sharing the company's analytics with people while laughing at their poor performance. A very short time later, Andy's home was raided by the police after reports that he was going to shoot someone. Luckily for Andy, his home was just searched, and he would take to Twitter to say that he thinks that Ian just swatted him, as Ian was worried about the expose videos that he was making. Andy then uploaded a video to talk about what was going on and confirmed that he thinks that this was Ian's doing.
Hey Ian Miles Cheong, you say lay off the coke? Well, I'm not on coke because I just had 2 police officers, 2 detectives interrogate me and search my house. I allowed them to search my house, so they didn't find anything. The information from the caller was information that you have. On the day that I destroy you with part 1 of the video series that will ruin you because I have a lot of dirt on you. And it's funny how you try to getting me pretty much arrested or worse, and you've done this before. It's pretty obvious it's you. You've done this many times to people. You've told me that you're fine with people being swatted or doxxed if you don't like them. And you saying lay off the coke, it's pretty funny when cops are scouring your house and you let them do it. You've opened the door to something you probably didn't want to open. Good luck, Ian. Good luck.
Ian took to Twitter to defend himself, claiming that he had no reason to backstab Andy as they were business partners and best friends. All the drama would spark many videos being made about Ian's antics, which were then removed from YouTube due to them getting reported. This event caught the eye of drama tuber Keemstar, who invited the pair onto his show Drama Alerts to talk about what was going on. But sadly, Ian would decline this offer, claiming that he didn't want the public involved in Andy's paranoid delusions. A few days later, Keemstar would post 2 pretty damning audio messages of Ian, admitting to sending the police to Andy's home and kind of bragging about what sounds like him trying to kill Andy.
Out saying that he's going to make a video on me. That really actually set me off. I did not need to see that. I'm more than happy to just let him leave me alone. But he forced my hand, so I called the police. I actually called the police on him. I know what he does. I know he has illegal firearms. I know that he is deeply entrenched in the alt-right. I know that he has a lot of cocaine in his house. Yeah, he's f***ed. He's f***ed. I even talked to them on the phone. So, who knows? Maybe they'll pay him a visit very soon. Hopefully soon the Mississauga police will be paying him a nice little visit. I told them that he was armed and dangerous, because he is. He's got guns. And that he's prone to bouts of schizophrenia and bouts of violence. So he might be in for a treat. It's all true, by the way. He is prone to all these things. So, yeah, that's not just me trying to get him killed. That's actually true. They need to be careful.
And Ian Miles Cheong tried to get me killed. He didn't just swat me. He tried getting me killed. That it's like I'm armed and dangerous and I'm bouts of schizophrenia? Are you kidding me?
Ian was now a rabbit in the headlights, unsure what to do next. So he started to feverishly delete old tweets, claim that Andy was a cokehead making stuff up, and say that Andy's false accusations were making people post death threats to him. Ian was now truly an outcast from the internet bloodsport gang, a pariah who was openly mocked on the internet. So Ian hit back by writing articles about internet bloodsports, claiming that they are a pay-to-play troll army terrorizing the internet. But sadly for Ian, no one really cared, as most people now thought that he was a psychopath who was willing to take extreme measures over a relatively minor internet feud. Ian would decide to take a break from the internet for a while, so like a beautiful Malaysian butterfly, he would crawl inside his chrysalis ready to metamorphosize into his most well-known form to date. In 2019, Ian joined a right-wing news outlet called Human Events and tried to kickstart the Hype Break brand again by hiring someone called Smug Legend to manage the channel. I cannot confirm if this is his birth name. Mr. Legend would later say that Ian was not a good boss, as Ian was not making videos, so Smug would not get paid for all of the work that he was doing. Mr. Cheong would get more and more into American politics, growing his Twitter account by copying the talking points of the right wing, and by 2020 he was basically the Malaysian echo of Donald Trump. Whenever the politician would say anything, Ian could be heard faintly in the distance agreeing. This tactic started to pay off, with Mr. Trump quote tweeting Ian, leading to Ian's account tripling its followers. His path was now set, so he started to tweet things like, "Donald Trump is my president." Bear in mind he lives in Malaysia. Ian would jump into hot water again when he claimed that a man called Darnell Hicks was the #1 suspect in a shooting of 2 police officers based on information that he got from Facebook. This tweet gained a lot of attention, and soon the internet was ablaze with Darnell's name, which forced the LA County Sheriff's Department to tweet that Ian's post was erroneous information and that they had no suspects at this time. Ian would counter the Sheriff's Department by letting his audience know that more information about Darnell had gone viral on Facebook, which he would soon share. This led to Mr. Hicks getting death threats and appearing on local news to address the accusations.
After being wrongfully accused on social media of ambushing 2 LA County Sheriff's deputies Saturday, attorney Brian Dunn with the Cochran firm.
He has no connection whatsoever. Any person would suffer greatly when falsely accused of a crime, especially a crime as heinous as this.
He started getting death threats.
You know, I have 2 daughters, and I don't even feel safe taking them out no more now.
He simply has been thrown into this pit for nothing other than the color of his skin.
Ian started to pivot away from Donald Trump after the Capitol building riot, claiming that they were white nationalists and that conservatives should distance themselves from this event. He then really did a U-turn on Trump, tweeting, "For 4 years, Trump managed to drag every conservative through the mud, as they supported him and made excuses for all of the times that he told lies and said dumb, often inexcusable shit. He's paid everyone back by pardoning a couple of rappers and a bunch of corrupt Democrats." Ian had lost the Trump supporters, which were a large part of the right wing, so his account would start to suffer. But he soon found a new hero to attach himself to. He started to leech off of Elon Musk, replying to pretty much every post that the new owner of Twitter tweeted. In a strange coincidence, Ian's opinions were always exactly the same as Elon's, even down to the pair not liking GTA 5 due to it involving shooting police officers, with Ian claiming that he never finished the game. He was community noted for this, to say that he had written 250 articles about the game, including articles about him shooting and evading the police. Ian's uncanny agreement with Elon on everything would pay off when Mr. Musk started to reply to Ian's tweets and skyrocket his account like never before. Ian was now electric, his account linked into the brains of most Twitter users. Even if they didn't follow him, his opinions would now bore their way into their timelines. Luckily, this happened at the same time that Twitter started to roll out revenue sharing, with Ian revealing that he was now making about $10,000 a month from Twitter. This newfound fame wasn't all good though, and people started to throw around fear theories that Ian was a paid shill for Ron DeSantis, due to Ian turning his back on Trump and throwing his weight behind the Florida governor. Others on the right were also unhappy with Ian's rise to fame, most notably an internet personality called The Quartering, real name Jeremy. These two don't seem to like each other very much, and Jeremy would start to post exposed videos to YouTube about past interactions with Cheong. Years before, Jeremy had set up a crowd-funded gaming website and hired Ian as an editor, but sadly he was having trouble keeping on top of all of the editing work, so he hired a lady called Ren to help him out and took money from Jeremy to pay her. Well, it turns out that Ren was an e-girl that Ian liked. The same girl that he claimed to be in a long-distance open relationship with back in the incel corner days. Ren was never told about her new job and was just sent money so that she could buy a new phone. After Jeremy confronted Ian about this, the money was refunded, but this seems to be where the bad blood between the two started.
Well, it turns out from what I've gathered, this Ren individual was an e-girl and trying to buy an iPhone or something like that. He was sending money to an e-girl who had no idea that she even worked for this website, okay? When I confronted him over it, he had a mental breakdown, a bawling breakdown on Skype for stealing not my money, but your money. The people had backed the project. It was $645. He would have gone right on stealing my money, stealing your money, had I not figured it out.
Jeremy has done many posts on Twitter calling out Ian for stealing other people's content. In fact, lots of other people do this as well on Twitter. It's a pretty common complaint against Mr. Cheong. One time that someone called him out about this, Ian replied by saying, "Cry about it." Ian has started to work for a media outlet called Rebel News, so Jeremy tweeted at them asking for their thoughts on Ian stealing other people's work and laughing about it. So Ian posted to claim that Jeremy likes children a little bit too much. It's a pretty bold escalation right there. On this tweet, he attached a video clip that Ian claims shows Jeremy advising people how to clean their computers of such horrible things. Jeremy denies this, saying that this video was from his time working at a computer shop where this kind of material was discovered on a computer and reported to the police. The video itself is a bit weird, to be honest, with Jeremy telling people to be careful of what they have on their computer when they take it to a repair shop and telling them how to hide files. This can be taken as just good advice for protecting non-illegal files from prying eyes, or have a more nefarious undertone depending on what agenda you watch the video with. Jeremy then tweeted to Rebel News again saying that he was planning to sue them over this. So Ian retracted the tweet and uploaded a new one saying that some alleged this of Jeremy. It seems that people started to turn against the Quartering for making drama, so he tweeted, "Imagine you're in my shoes, an employee of a news agency, Rebel News and Ezra Levant, with 1 million of his own followers, state as fact, without evidence, that you are a in response to being called out on theft. Wouldn't you seek the utmost remedy? It's not drama." Seems fair enough, to be honest. Jeremy called for Ian to be fired from Rebel News and for Elon Musk to demonetize Ian. As far as I can tell, Jeremy never sued Rebel News or Ian. It's a fairly common complaint on Twitter that Ian steals other people's content by reporting articles or videos and going out of his way to remove logos so it seems like it's his work. It's a bit of a meme at this point that Ian's information is wrong or out of context a lot of the time. He posts hundreds of tweets a day serving up slop to the hungry little piggies, fattening themselves up on outrage as the Malaysian engagement farmer laughs all the way to the piggy bank. It would seem that people at Twitter are fully aware of what Ian is up to, with Elon Musk distancing himself from the clickbait king, and the community notes on his posts are often pretty scathing. Ian tweets, "She's completely out of time and drawing way too much attention to herself away from the orchestra and her music. I hate this new style of conducting." Community note, part of the conductor's job is to set the tempo for an orchestra. By definition, it's literally impossible for her to be out of time. Ian posts a video about Hamas going house to house women and children, asking his followers to imagine this was happening to their family. Community note: based on the uniforms, it's clearly a video of Israeli law enforcement, and there's no evidence for the claims he made. Ian Miles also has a record of posting lies, and will post anything if it gets him clicks, which equals more ad revenue from X. Ian would later delete this tweet. From what I can tell, Ian has rebranded Hype Break into something called Catch Up, which he uses to upload other people's videos or articles, then he retweets them on his main account. I would guess that he has done this to avoid copyright or legal issues on his main account. Plus he gets to keep the money from both. I'm not 100% sure that this is the case, so take it with a pinch of salt, but it seems that way from what I can tell. Something else that I came across are a lot of people claiming that Ian has some kind of influence at Twitter and can get people's accounts suspended or banned if they highlight Ian's wrongdoings on the platform.
So I see this and I get into his replies and I'm like, wait a minute, didn't you get exposed last month for swatting Andy Worski? And so a lot of people in the replies start asking me, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? So to everybody that replies, I provide links to my videos so they can see exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. The next day, I'm locked out of my Twitter account and it shows me all the tweets. It says you're going to be locked out for a period of a week. And it says, in order to, start the countdown, you have to delete these tweets. Guess what fucking tweets they are?
Yep.
All the fucking tweets where I linked my videos about him swatting Andy Worski, okay?
Recently, Ian has faced some problems in his home country of Malaysia. This is a Muslim country and are not the biggest fans of Israel, so this puts Ian in a bit of a predicament, as for some reason I've never really understood right-wing Western politics is very pro-Israel. Ian has tweeted his support for those who wrestle with God many times, so calls for his arrest spread around Malaysia. Apparently it's illegal in Malaysia to support Israel. Memes then started to go around the internet that Ian was going to face capital punishment in his homeland. But Ian managed to avoid arrest by confirming to the Malaysian press that he was not pro-Israel and he actually loves his own country. Ian has now jumped back on board the Trump train and no doubt plans to ride it to the next convenient and more prosperous station. The term grifter is thrown around the internet a lot and mostly I don't think it's used correctly, but in Ian's case I think that's what he is. Happy to spew out whatever gets clicks and happy to side with whoever benefits him the most depending on what way the wind blows. Ian needs to watch things die from a good safe distance, and it seems very strange that a man from Malaysia would be so passionately invested in the politics of America. So I can only assume that his real interest is in the money that can be made from talking about the politics of America. Ian Miles Cheong Shan is the director of a company called Cyber Level Limited, which is registered in the British Virgin Islands. This island is known as a tax haven used by the very wealthy, so it's safe to assume that Ian is doing very well for himself by serving up slop to the hungry masses. Ian Miles Cheong is far from the only account of its kind on the internet, and to be honest, it's far from the worst. He does at least actually write his own thoughts every now and again and sometimes gets facts correct. There are many other accounts across the internet that just outright lie in order to get clicks and pollute our collective consciousness, distorting the reality of many people absorbed by the electricity of the internet. Left, right, stock market, Christian and Muslim. These accounts can be found wherever people have deeply held beliefs. And it's a sad fact that the mainstream media are so untrustworthy that people like Ian can get over 1 million followers. He is one of, if not the biggest, slop account on the internet, and as long as people are hungry for slop, people like Ian will exist. There will no doubt be a lot more to come from the Ian Miles Cheong story in the years ahead. My guess is that at some point the right wing will get sick of him and he will move on to another group that doesn't really know much about him. The Muslims seem like a natural choice for someone from Malaysia and the show will continue. But who knows, maybe the left will take him back or he'll find some other group to attach himself to. Internet slop is a distraction from the things that really matter in life, like joining my channel membership and or Patreon, where you can can find a back catalogue of the best exclusive content on the internet. That's an Ian Miles Cheong guarantee. There is enough slop on there to keep you piggies going for hours. If you don't want that, then watch this slop about the amazing atheist. I just learnt the term slop recently and I like saying it. It's pretty much the reason that I made this video really. I just wanted to say the word slop over and over again, as I kind of like it. A big slop to the channel members and Patreons, and slop slop.
No hard feelings though. I just want my money. That's all.